So I've received a few comments from our community calling Voiceless Voice mid. While I agree only to the extent that it is currently the most balanced deck in the game, it is actually well positioned in the current meta and has been receiving a lot of success at tier 2 and higher events. So today I'm not only going to explain why they're good, but also what list I've been running, and a few of the basic combos so you can get started. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. So jumping straight into the deck profile, I am running 3 Low, she's the heart and soul of the deck and also your best 1-card starter. 3 Diviner, she's your other 1-card starter which is simultaneously better and worse than Low. She's better in the sense that she gets you more than Low, she's also more versatile than Low, but she's more susceptible to hand traps, so yeah, it's a bit fragile. But still, you need to play 3. I am playing 1 Trias. Usually this is the card you would send to the graveyard with Diviner. It can be considered somewhat of a brick, but I don't think so. Because like if you open this in your opening hand, right, it can still be used as a quick effect to tribute a fairy, usually your Low or Diviner at quick speed to summon itself, meaning that you can dodge targeted pieces of negation. So yeah, it's not too bad in your hands, like a pseudo Call by the Grave. I'm then playing a 3 Saffira. She is the lifeline of your deck, or the blood, whatever you want to call her. She facilitates both halves of your rituals that you need. She is both a ritual spell in that you can banish her from the grave to ritual summon, and she also gets your ritual monster by sending her from your hand to the graveyard. Plus, she also sets up your pseudo negate by sending your ritual spell to the graveyard. So she's amazing. Her downside though is that she is a light monster, which means that she is susceptible to Bastials and E-Shifter, but still crazy good. I'm playing 1 Seravis. Old man Seravis. This is probably your only brick in the deck. You don't want to draw this. It's not too bad if you draw it, but like to meet the summoning requirements of having 2 spells in your grave, you generally only really meet that when you have a pre-prep or a prosperity in your hand. So for the most part, it does feel a bit clunky to draw. You don't really want to see this in your opener, but it is very good. So that's why it's worth playing, in my opinion. Normally, I would tell people to cut bricks like this from their deck, but this just raises the ceiling of your deck by a lot. So I think it's justified. Then, if we're moving into rituals, I am playing 4. Some people say that 3 is the right number. I think 4 is enough. I think 4 is good, for the reason that you kind of want to have protection against board breakers via your ritual spell, so you need something in the deck to special summon via that effect. So yeah, I'm playing 2 Skull Guardians. I think that is non-negotiable, and then 1 Pendulumgraph and 1 Seravis Dragon. A lot of people are playing 2 Seravis and cut this for the second. The advantage of doing this is that this is targeting protection, so it means that your Low and your Diviner are more likely to resolve if you see this in your opening hand. But the benefit of playing the Odd Eyes is that it is a spell negate, which raises the ceiling of your deck by a lot, surprisingly. Mainly because it helps you protect yourself against board breakers. Apart from that, it also burns your opponent for 300 every time they summon from the extra deck, so it does have application in time. What's more is when you use her negate, or its negate, whatever you want to call it, it goes to your pendulum zone and then summons an Odd Eyes monster from your extra deck, which is pretty good against them, but I'll explain why when we get into the extra deck. But it going into your skill isn't a bad thing either, because during the end phase it'll return to your hand and then search your ritual spell. So I think it's good, and I am playing some spice to dodge targeted negation, so you can get away with just playing 1 Seravis. But we'll get into that when we get into the non-engine portion of the deck. Moving on to spell and traps, I'm playing 3 Barrier, 1 Blessing, and 1 Radiance. So this is sort of your standard searches of Low. You kind of need to play this because it's just crazy good. This is your searcher. This lets you ritual summon during your opponent's turn, so think of the Floowandereeze ritual spell. And then this is either targeting destruction equal to the number of ritual monsters you control, or it summons a Voiceless Voice monster from your deck by shuffling a ritual spell or ritual monster from grave or hand into the deck. Then we are playing 2 of the ritual spell. Some people think you can cut this to 1. If you're lucky enough, you can do that, but you kind of need to have 2 so that you can resolve Saffira's effect. It's like if you have to draw one of these and then you can't really use Saffira, that's what I mean. I'm playing 1 Lonely Pot, the 1 Prosperity. It's recently limited, so Unfortunately, yeah, we have to play the 1. I'm not running Extravagance. There was a time where I was playing this alongside Extravagance, but I feel it's not necessary. So instead I'm playing 3 pre-preparation of rites. If you guys want to make a space for an Extravagance, you can cut one of these. Perfectly fine to do, especially considering that I'm playing the Alright Pendulum Dragon, and this can't search the dragon because it's not mentioned on prayer. So you can do that. My reasoning is that I kind of want more consistency, which is why I'm playing the 3 as opposed to the additional pot. And this also allows you to play around D-shifters, so I think it's very good. So I'm playing 3 of those. The obvious benefit of playing the pot is that it helps you get into your side deck much easier. But I haven't had any issues with that, so 3 pre-prep seems to be the way to go. Jumping into the non-engine, I am playing 14 non-engine tools. I decided to go for hand traps. I'll explain why in a second. I'm playing 3 Nibiru, 3 Effect Veiler, 3 Imperm, and 3 Ash Blossom. So those are my 12 hand traps that I'm playing. 12 I think is the bare minimum if you decide to go the hand trap route. I am playing Nibiru for a few reasons. So it's quite questionable in the current meta because, you know, a lot of decks can either play around us, play through it, or are able to set up a negate before the first summon. So it doesn't always resolve reliably like it did in the past. You don't mind that too much because Nibiru is both a light monster and a high level, meaning that there are some cases where you can use it to ritual summon using the prayer. Unfortunately, the Voiceless Voice ritual spell has this annoying piece of text on it that says it can only tribute light monsters to summon the right ritual. So yeah, Nibiru stat lines up quite nicely with that. Because I'm playing Nibiru and I wanted to resolve as much as possible, I am playing 3 Veiler and 3 Imperm. And then I'm playing 3 Ash Blossom because it's generically good. If I had 4 Ross, this would have been 4 Ross. I don't. I'm poor. I'm playing Ash Blossom. You don't need to spend $120 per card. Like, that is just not a smart thing to do. Unless, of course, you can afford it. But yeah, if you can't, no reason to like bend your back over. And then my 13 and 14 spots is Book of Eclipse. This was the spice, quote unquote, that I was talking about. This can be used both offensively and defensively. By that I mean, to resolve before you're low, right? You can use this. We normal summon low. The opponent will use like an Imperm or Veiler. You can then use the Book of Eclipse to flip the low face down. Low's effect will resolve. And Low's effect, which allows it to be treated as the entire piece of a ritual, or the entire tribute of a ritual, works if this card is face down. If it didn't, you wouldn't be able to use this effect in your hand. So yeah, that is why this works great. It's the same way it works in Fluanderies. And then obviously, if you need to break boards, this is a great board breaker too. So yeah, I don't think you cannot play this in Voiceless. I'm only playing 2 because I wanted to play a clean 40. I am tempted to cut maybe one of the 3 pre-preps for a third, but so far this seems to be the ratio that's working for me. Okay, I'm gonna go into the extra deck first before going into the side deck. I'm playing 1 Anima, 2 Dynamundo, 1 Tri-Brigade Arms for our Link monsters. This is good because we are playing the Nibiru, so most of the time you're just going to use this to steal the token, as long as you summon it to one of the Anima zones. But it can also take players by surprise who forget about their zone placements. So Anima is great for board breaking, so I say it's a must. Dynamundo is another must, in that it's another one of those board breakers that does a lot for you. But also there are certain situations where going first you need to make this, like if you're low for some reason can't get summoned back from the graveyard when you use it to ritual summon. You can make a Dynamundo using 2 monsters on your side of the field, and then during your opponent's standby phase you tribute it, summon back out your Skull Guardian, or any ritual that you have in the graveyard that was summoned properly, and then Lo will summon herself back to the field and then place another Voiceless spell trap. So that's the reason why we're playing 2 instead of 1, because sometimes you need to go when using first, and you need the second one for when going second, or when you get play again. Tri-Brigade Arms is because I am running Ultimate Slayer, but otherwise your extra deck is very flexible. So then I am playing 1 Garura and 1 Entes for my fusions. Again, both of these are Ultimate Slayer targets, but also Entes can be sent to the graveyard with Diviner in situations where when play goes back to you, so your turn 3, you can normal summon your Diviner, send this to the graveyard and pop something. For Exceeds, I'm playing 5, Logic Aggregator. Again, this is just another Ultimate Slayer target. Typhon, you go into this quite often when you need a board break. Making Typhon after you resolve Anima is crazy. And then I'm playing a Zeus package. I only ever made this like maybe twice, and when I did, it won me the game. But yeah, if you don't feel like gambling, you can cut this for whatever you want. Like I said, the extra deck is very flexible. You have a lot of space. For Synchros, I am playing 4, 1 Chaos Angel. Very good. You can make this generally using an a Trias and a level 1, so you're low. And being made with light monsters means your opponent can't exactly negate this using monsters. So it's a great piece of removal. Like against Yubel, you kind of need to do that. You make this to get rid of either one of the lone Yubel monsters in the field or the Nightmare Bane. 1 Odd-Eyes Meteor Burst Dragon. So unfortunately, when this card summons, it doesn't summon back the Pendulumgraph Dragon from your Pendulum Zone, because Pendulumgraph has a line of text that says it must be Ritual Summoned or Special Summoned from your hand, or Pendulum Summoned from your hand. So you can't summon it back using Odd-Eyes Dragon. But this card does have a line of text on it that says your opponent can't use monster effects during the battle phase. So making this is a free win against Tenpai. 1 Arclight as a Diviner target, and then Malong as another Ultimate Slayer target. Okay, now moving into the side deck. As I've said plenty of times, I'm running 3 Ultimate Slayer, 3 Evenly Match, 3 Dark Ruler, 3 Droll, and 3 Dimension Barrier. So generally speaking, I would side these in when I know I'm going first. And then these are very good board breakers for when going second. The reason why I know there's been a current shift where a lot of players have been playing board breakers in the main deck. The reason why I am playing hand traps is because while Voiceless Voice has a lot of tools to dodge hand traps, or specifically the ones that hurt them, there are cases where you don't draw one of those cards that help you dodge the hand trap, and then sometimes you normal summon the low, it gets negated, and that's the end of your turn. But if you have hand traps in your hand, it can kind of help you stay in the game. But if you have board breakers and you summon low, it gets negated, then that's usually curtains for you. Okay, let's get into the combos. Hi, it's me again. I just wanted to take a moment to thank each and every one of my viewers who have been enjoying my content lately. Some of you may know this, but I have been wanting to build Voiceless for a while. But at my current RPM, the rate at which YouTube pays me for every 1,000 views I receive, it took me about 80,000 views before I could afford to pick this up and show it off to you guys. And that just means I have 80,000 reasons to be grateful to you all. Yes, this is something that I purchased for myself, but I do take pride in being able to take the time to learn the ins and outs of the deck so that I can show you guys how to enjoy it too. So here's to another 80,000 views. Let's get straight back to the combos. Okay, so to go about your basic 1-card combo, all you need is low. So what you do is you normal summon low, you'd use her effect to place a barrier in your spell and trap zone. The important thing here to recognize is that low says place, not add. So this means that it plays around Roland Lockbird, Ash Blossom, and even cards like Anti-Spell Fragrance. Once barrier is face up, you'll use its effect to search for Saffira. You'd use Saphira's effect to send herself to the graveyard. On resolution, she'll send the prayer to the graveyard and search out the Skull Guardian. You would then use Saphira's grave effect to banish herself to ritual summon. So you tribute low as the entire material to summon out Skull Guardian. You then want to use Skull Guardian's effect as Chainlink 1 and, the other way around, Chainlink 1 low's effect, Chainlink 2 Skull Guardian. So Skull Guardian will get you a search. In this case, we're just going for another low for follow-up if we need it. And then low will summon herself back to your side of the field. So it looks quite unassuming, but what this board represents is an Omni Negate, Target and Protection, Pseudo Battle Protection in that your opponent can only attack the Skull Guardian, which has 4,100 attack. And this is sort of pseudo destruction protection or board clearance protection, because what this says is that if a ritual monster leaves your field by an opponent's card effect, you can summon another ritual monster from your deck. So this is exactly why we play the second Skull Guardian, is so that we can make full use of this. So this board is resistant to 2 board breakers, and it will take exactly three to break it. So to play this out for you, your opponent would activate Raigeki. We don't care about the Raigekis, we would let it resolve, right? They would destroy a board. New chain, you would banish the prayer to use its effect to summon a ritual from deck. You would summon another Skull Guardian. Lowe's effect will trigger summoning herself back to your side of the field, and then her effect would activate to place a Voiceless Voice spell trap. In this case, we'll be going for the Radiance. So the Raigeki actually made our board stronger because we fetched out a Radiance, which means we also now have a pop, a quick word or a destruction that we can use a quick effect. Our opponent activates the second Raigeki, we negate. It will take a third for them to actually clean our board. And assuming that they do have 3, we would then have 4 other cards in our hand to stop the 3 that they still have. So it's just basic math. But yeah, let me show you what the Dynamondo combo meant. But I think that it's more attuned to, it's better suited to our Diviner combo. So let me show that when we get to that. Let's move on to that. So like I mentioned earlier, Diviner is also a 1-card starter. And the way you would go about using her is that you would normal summon her, use her effect to send a fairy from extra deck or deck to the graveyard. In this case, we want to send Trias. We then use Trias' effect from grave, tributing the Diviner to summon herself to the field. Diviner's effect will trigger in grave since she was tributed to special summon a level 2 or lower fairy monster from your deck. So I'm just going to put these at the bottom to represent my graveyard because the camera angle is a bit weird, which her effect will activate summoning out Low. Low's effect then will then activate to place Barrier. Barrier, you'll then use Barrier to search out Saffira. You would send Saffira to the grave, to send Prayer to grave, to search out Skull Guardian. You'd banish the Saffira to ritual summon. In this case, it is safest to tribute the Trias because it means that we are protected against Bastiles in case our opponent has one. Because if they Bastille the Low, this is no longer a non-negate. So we will tribute this. It gets banished instead of going to the graveyard to summon out Skull Guardian. And we are in the same situation as we were before. Hypothetically though, if say for example we tributed the Low instead and we kept the Trias on our field and our opponent activates something that prevents this from being summoned to outside of the field, you can link these 2 off. So this will get banished, this will go to the graveyard to make out a Dynamundo. So we have Dynamundo in our extra deck zone. During our opponent's standby phase, we will use Dynamundo's effect to tribute itself and special summon out a ritual from a graveyard. So we'll ritual summon back out the Skull Guardian. Low's effect will then trigger from the graveyard to summon herself back, and we then get to place the Radiance. So that's one of the ways you can use Dynamundo going first. You can also do this if you want to increase the ceiling of your board. So like, you know, your basic combo, you end on these 2. You can then send these 2 away to make a Dynamundo, and then during your opponent's standby phase, quickly use it to fetch yourself the Radiance. The reason why I don't recommend doing this is because it is susceptible to Call by the Grave and a lot of negation, so it is a bit more fragile. The only times I would recommend doing the Dynamundo line, you know, aggressively in case when your opponent hasn't like stopped the Low, is if you're playing against a deck that you know isn't running a lot of hand traps or pieces of interaction like that. So like, for example, Branded, I'd say Dark World, Raid Raptors, maybe even Plant Link. Those are some of the decks you can get away with by doing this. But otherwise, I don't, because it's fragile. So just end on this. It's good enough. Trust me, you'll be fine. So your basic 2-card combo, you can go about them if you draw either a pre-preparation of Rites or a Saffira, so these 2 are interchangeable, plus any high level. So this can either be a Nibiru, a Ritual, a Cerberus, or a Trias. So plenty of targets. So for this case, I'm going to show you it's using Nibiru and pre-prep because we haven't showed this before. So the way you'd go about this combo is you'd activate pre-prep, which lets you search a ritual spell and then a monster that is mentioned on it. So always Skull Guardian. So those 2 to hand. You would then activate Prayer, tributing the Nibiru, summoning out the Skull Guardian. Skull Guardian's effect to search Low. Normal summon Low. Low's effect to search for Barrier. Place Barrier. Activate Barrier. Search Radiance. Set Radiance. So that's your basic 2-card combo. So normally 2-card combos are considered weaker or inferior versions of 1 card, like in Mathemac. You have to commit 2 cards to do what 1 circular does. But in this case, it gets you your radiance, so it is actually better. My favorite combo can be performed if you have a diviner in pre-prep. So the way you'd go about this, you'd activate the pre-prep, you would search a Prayer and a Saravas. The reason why we go for the Saravas in this case is because it can be used to protect the diviner when we normal summon it. So we'll normal summon diviner. This is if they imperm or effect veiler, we can discard this and then we revert back to our 1-card combo. But assuming it resolves, we would send Trias to the graveyard. We will use Trias's effect to tribute to summon herself. Diviner's effect is going to activate from grave, special summoning out Low. Low is then going to place Barrier. We'll then use Barrier to search for Saffira. You're going to use Saffira's effect to send herself to the grave, along with a Prayer to search out a Skull Guardian over here. Right, so we will activate the Prayer from hand to tribute to the Trias that gets banished to summon out our Skull Guardian. Then we'll use the grave effect of Saffira to tribute the Low, special summon out Saravas. So from here we have an Omni Negate, a Summon Negate, this will summon back to the field. I forgot to do that. So we have our protection, our targeting protection, our pseudo battle protection, Summon Negate, Omni Negate, and Graveyard protection in the form of this. Hi, I'm real sorry that the video just cut there abruptly. I didn't realize I ran out of storage space until you actually came to edit in this video, but I just wanted to say thanks for watching, everyone. If you'd like to see a full combo tutorial, I do have a link to that in the description below, as well as a link to a video where I explain how you can use Book of Eclipse to dodge target negation, not just one piece, but 2 pieces even when the Book of Moon is sandwiched in the middle of the chain. So if you'd like to check that out, check the description. But for now, thanks for watching, I'll see you guys in the next.